Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The day is dark. It's getting darker. It doesn't look like the war is getting any time. You know, I'm just realizing I've spelled Britain wrong. But listen, let's not worry about that. Things are getting worse by the day. So what we're going to be focusing on today is the United States claiming they're sending the United States claiming they're sending 3,000 troops to the Middle East. Donald Trump claiming that the Iranians have agreed to a nuclear deal whereby the Iranians agree never to have a nuclear missile again. We're going to be exploring that in a little bit. But first, before I do that, I want to share a video with you guys. Give me a second. So we're all waiting on Donald Trump's word, what he says, when he says it, how he says it. Turns out, people may know what he's going to say before he says it. Why? Well,
media posts basically saying that.
So, if you guys can remember, a couple of was it yesterday? It feels like a couple of weeks ago, but it was probably yesterday. Donald Trump made his speech in capital letters on his Truth social media platform, and he said that the United States are pleased to announce that they're in negotiations with the Iranians, and like the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opened up soon, or something like that. Anyway, that's what this video here is in reference to. Turns out,
it was a really massive moment when Donald Trump came out, did this the social media post basically saying that talks were underway. And a lot of people thought, as a result, maybe this war might be over, or at least this might be the beginning of the end. But
okay, I will start this back from the beginning. Can you guys see right now how out of their depth all these media so-called experts are? 3 years. 3 years. Nobody should expect this conflict in the Middle East to even be remotely wrapping up until 3 years have elapsed. This is what it is, guys. This is it now. This is it. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then in about 3 years, maybe 2 years in 11 months, maybe 3 years in 11 months, maybe 5 years, there may be some hope of a negotiation and a ceasefire. And people will be saying, oh, Sean, you said don't worry about it for 3 years. It's actually been 2 years, 11 months and 28 days. Yeah, okay. I concede. But what the reason I'm saying that is when you look at these people talking, they don't know what they're talking about. So this guy here, I don't know what his name is. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he loves his wife and honors his mother. But he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the reality.
Something kind of interesting going on behind the scenes. I want to show you about that because you'll probably remember at that point, markets went crazy. A lot of people selling off oil, buying shares because they saw a big opportunity to make money out of this. And here's what's striking. If you look, and what we're looking at here is just the volumes, how many people were doing the buying and selling at any given time. If you look,
people are, and this is what I talk about. Right now, you have people who have no experience, no understanding in warfare, no understanding in geopolitics, and they are at the head of large corporations. It's not their fault, not a problem, that's just the way it is. Normally they're yes men, and they are sat right now in boardrooms dictating your future, other people's future. They're dictating whether they keep their factory on, whether they give their staff a payout, or whether they close down. These people who are in positions of power have no idea what they're talking about. And that's the system, guys, okay? That's the reality. You can complain about it as much as you want. Doesn't really matter. I can complain. I can complain that my apple tree last year didn't give many apples. Doesn't matter how much I complain, it still didn't give many apples. So right now in the world, in the United Kingdom, we have people in charge of us who have no idea what's happening, what's coming, or how to deal with anything because they've never lived through this.
But when Donald Trump made that post, it was 11:05 UK time, there was a massive flurry of activity immediately afterwards. Not surprising at all. But here's what is surprising. 15 minutes before he made that post, someone or some group of people made a massive trade.
Okay, so, right. I'm going to put this to you. Obviously, I don't know. Look at the volume of that trade. I don't know what the, but that is a lot of money. I'm told that this is 1.5 billion on a trade. They either bought or sold $1.5 billion. Now, I'm going to put it to you guys. Do you think, look at the rest of the trades there. Tiny, 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 tiny. A bit more than tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Boom! Boom! Look at those. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 trades there. Can you guys see them? Raz, dva, tre, čtyři. Can you guys see those 4 trades? They are huge. Each one of those trades are massive. But there's the one in the middle, second from the left, that is particularly big. So I'm just putting it to you guys. Do you think that that is inside trade? I don't think it can be inside trading because that's illegal. And obviously, nobody in and around Donald Trump would do insider trading because that's illegal. And that is, nobody would do that ever. I understand that. So because that's illegal and we know that nobody would do illegal trading, even though they could make billions and no one would really know. We know it's illegal. But so it must just be luck. Right? It must just be luck that somebody made a trade that big 15 minutes before Donald Trump's announcement.
One of the biggest trades that we'd seen in that market up until that announcement, leaving a lot of people wondering, were they just lucky? Was it a really well-timed, good guess? Or did they actually know what the president was about to announce? Because when you take that trade on this market and the other oil markets, they have made hundreds of millions of dollars potentially.
So that's it, guys. Literally somebody right there and then made potentially hundreds of millions of dollars from one speech from Donald Trump. So I'm just going to put it to you guys. I don't know the answer to this clearly. Do you think that there will be people within the Trump administration who are making money off this war? I don't know. You tell me what you guys think. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to jump over now. I'm going to jump over to, well, I'm not going to jump over at all. We are on the Middle East. What I'm going to talk about now is the breaking news as of maybe an hour ago or something. The Pentagon is preparing to send 3,000 airborne soldiers from America's elite 82nd Airborne Division, 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East to support operations against Iran. So what do you think those guys, what do you think they're going to be doing? Airborne forces, do you think they're going to be, so for those of you guys who don't know, airborne forces, you can parachute them, you can helicopter insert them, you can do a tactical air landing where you just land a C-130, everybody runs off the back. Literally, it's infantry that come from the air. Normally by parachute, but in today's warfare, that is more and more limited. So what do you think the 100 and, what do you think, not the 101st, what do you think the 3,082nd Airborne soldiers are going to be doing? Do you think they're going to be repairing drones? I don't know. Do you think they're going to be flying aircraft? Do you think they're going to be doing maintenance on engines? Do you think they're going to be upgrading computer systems? Or do you think they're going to be boots on the ground? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. I would speculate, right, that they're going to be boots on the ground. These are the troops who can be anywhere in the world with their equipment within 18 hours. Britain has a similar capability with 16 Air Assault Brigade. A written deployment order is expected as early as tomorrow. Not even tomorrow, is it? I think it's like, it may have even happened. So I think it may have even happened. But a written deployment order is, expected within a couple of hours. Exactly where they will go, what their mission will be, is still unclear as per official reports. But I will tell you what I think. And listen, if you've been following me for a while, you guys know exactly what I'm going to say. But initial reports suggest that one role could be to help seize Karg Island. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they are going to be used to secure the northern region in just north of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this comes just as Donald Trump claimed that the United States had a very productive talks with Iran and announced the 5-day ceasefire that the Iranians are totally disputing. The Iranians have come out and flatly rejected that any such claim has any credibility. A senior Iranian military spokesperson said that that their armed forces will fight until complete victory, pouring cold water on any idea of a ceasefire. Iran has also launched another wave of missiles against Israel, with strikes reported, as far in Tel Aviv. And it just fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me beyond belief. Turning on the TV, I can't even watch the TV anymore, guys. I can't watch the TV anymore because they don't know what they're talking about. They do not know. They're so out of their depth. They're so out of their depth. Everyone's out of their depth from, and listen, I was going to do, should I say this? Right. At some point, I promise you, I will release all the information that I know, right? All the information that I've been sending to the government, right? Today, I was going to jump back on in the day and I was going to talk about Ukraine and how the Russian spring offensive started. I had to have like a lot of phone calls today, video calls, group calls, Zoom calls. I'm talking to a minister through a third party. You guys will absolutely know this minister. I actually said to this minister today, I said, with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. And I just unleashed on a high rank today. I unleashed on a high-ranking UK minister. Totally unleashed on them. I wasn't polite. I was quite rude. I was abrupt. I was borderline aggressive because I was just so furious at the questions that they were asking me. You know how you can tell a person's competency by the questions they're asking you, right? I actually got told that by an American guy who I was working with. He said, listen, Sean, I've asked this question to a lot of people. I've never had your response in questions. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, most people ask me X, Y, and Z. He said, I was asking him weight, loiter time, energy consumption, transmission range, operating temperatures. I wasn't even bothered about like what they were talking about initially, and from that conversation, he knew that I knew what I was talking about, right? So, if you are a subject matter expert, and guys, I don't even care anymore. Like what's going on right now in the world, there's probably no one in the, and I don't mean to be a douche by saying this, but this is the reality. There's probably maybe like 3 or 5 people in the United Kingdom who have a similar understanding of global events as me. 3 to 5 people in the United Kingdom. And I'm talking the whole shebang now. I'm talking about the my knowledge of what's happening in the Middle East, my experience in the Middle East, my knowledge and experience in Eastern Europe, my knowledge and experience at government level, my UK Special Forces experience, my experience industrial manufacturing. In fact, you know what, guys? Maybe not even that. I think I may be the highest, the most qualified person to give analysis on what's happening in the world. And I will tell everybody right now, like I keep saying, reports and fresh reports and counter reports, 3 years. Don't expect the conflict in the Middle East to be gone anytime below 3 years. Anyway, let's continue. So the war in Iran is far from over, and it appears to be intensifying on the ground. That's the reality, guys, okay? It does appear to be intensifying, on the ground. Now, here in Britain, this matters for 2, although it may change, right? I always do that. I say 2 and it ends up being 5, for 2 main reasons, okay? First of all, any further disruption to oil flowing out of the Gulf will keep pushing petrol, diesel prices up at the pump. That's already happening. People have been sending me inbox messages saying, "Hey, Sean, I live in this location. We don't have any fuel. We're out of fuel." I spoke to the person in the petrol station. They said they don't know when they're going to get a resupply. So those fuel shortages does look like it's starting. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're on right now and you've not done so already, I promise you, after my live stream's finished, go out and brim your car. And for those of you guys who are thinking brim's got some sort of sexual annotation, it's not. I'm literally just meaning like when you brim it to the pipe. So when you put it in and you like keep going until the whole pipe's finished, and then you just like tap the end on the brim. You literally tap the end on the brim of the pipe and then pull it out and it's full up inside. That's literally like, I don't know what people are. That's what everybody needs to do now, basically, with their vehicles. Second, and perhaps more worrying, in the long term, the conflict in Ukraine. Just last week, Prime Minister Keir Starmer told President Zelensky that despite everything that's happening in Iran, we cannot lose focus on Ukraine. Slava Ukraina, chuvak. We cannot lose focus on Ukraine. He has repeatedly, Keir Starmer, said Britain must keep its resolve and continue to support Kiev and Ukraine. That firm focus on Ukraine at a time when British forces and equipment are already stretched thin carries a serious implication if, or more likely when, Russia launches another major push in Ukraine or potentially Estonia. We've talked about that before. Potentially on the 2nd and 3rd of next month. The likelihood of British boots on the ground in Ukraine rises significantly. And by boots on the ground, I mean green boots on the ground. We already know we've got black boots on the ground because they're coming back on. In fact, we don't know that, do we? We already know that there are some sort of British military on the ground in Ukraine as some sort of advisory role. We know that the United Kingdom and France have committed to deploying boots on the ground in Ukraine after any future ceasefire as part of security guarantees, but with Starmer making it crystal clear, like last week or the week before, that Ukraine remains the top priority. The top priority. while the Middle East burns, any Russian breakthrough could quickly turn that post-ceasefire promise into an urgent, in the middle of a war reality. And I've said to you guys so many times it will happen on a Friday. Guys, that weekend, like, just put, if you have a calendar right now, I don't know if you do, I hope you do, just put a long circle, an oblong, is it an oblong? And a long, I don't know, a long circle around the 2nd and 3rd of April. That's the Thursday, that's the first Thursday and Friday in April. If nothing happens in that weekend, guys, I would be very surprised. What I've always said about the conflict in Ukraine, they're not going to put this to a vote. No way, diddly dod. The conflict in Ukraine will never be put to a vote. Why? Why would you put something to a vote that it may be voted down? So what will happen in Ukraine is, potentially on a Friday after everyone's gone home, there will be a big Russian push. It might happen on a Thursday. The big Russian push might happen on a Thursday. But then the deployment will happen on the Friday. That's why I say 2nd and 3rd, all right? The big Russian push will happen, whatever, and then they will say, this was an emergency situation. The British military had to move fast to save lives, to console, to produce something, to save lives because the diversity is our strength, and we should do everything that keeps our communities together. They'll probably give you something like that, right? That's where it's going to happen, and then by Monday you're just going to be, well, that's it then. We've got a deployment now to Ukraine. No parliamentary oversight, no swizzling in the middle. And then when Kemi Badenoch comes up on Question Times the next Wednesday, and she's like, why did the government deploy troops to Ukraine? Keir Starmer will say, this was an emergency situation. We didn't have time to save lives and to protect blah, blah, blah. We didn't have time to give this parliamentary process. And that's kind of the thing, guys. You always leave, when you're doing your operational planning, you always leave that get out clause. But if this happens, we're going to do this, and we don't need your approval. Now, we are living through 2 major conflicts simultaneously. All right? One, obviously, the Middle East, the energy wars affecting everybody at the petrol pump. 2, the conflict in Ukraine that very, very soon, that's going to drag British boots on the ground. 3, mass migration into the United Kingdom is inevitably going to lead to some sort of civil conflict. 4, we only said 2, didn't we? Let's leave it with 3. So we are watching those 2 major conflicts, right? One already dragging British energy costs higher and higher, threatening to pull in more American ground troops. The other, Ukraine, is the one Prime Minister Keir Starmer says we cannot afford to look away from. And the other conflict that nobody even talks about, well, I guess people on the alternative media do, is the war on our streets. The war on our streets, ladies and gentlemen, that's the reality, because there is going to be a war on our streets. Now, for most ordinary families in the United Kingdom, they've still not woken up to this fact. So if you guys are watching this right now, you probably are the resistance. If you're watching this right now, you are head and shoulders ahead of what everybody else knows. I promise you are. Like, my conversation earlier today, and at some point I will release all the names of these ministers and politicians who I'm talking to. And I will just say, listen, these guys are well out of their depth. I actually flashed today and hung up on a minister. Yeah. And if I mention their name, everybody on this everybody on this chat right now will know that name. I promise you, everybody they're a front bencher. I was on a group call earlier on today and I flashed with them and hung up. Yeah, I did. I told them they were out of their depth. They didn't know what they were talking about. And I'm not going to go into it, guys. At some point, I promise you, if there's let me make this statement. When the deployment to Ukraine happens, if, and I hope this doesn't happen, guys, I promise you, I hope this doesn't happen. But if there is a deployment to Ukraine, when there is a deployment to Ukraine, and British soldiers start coming back in body bags unnecessarily, and look, guys, I'm as rock and roll as they come. I absolutely am. I am as rock and roll as they come. I will tell people to stop bitching and get your bayonet out and go and attack that tank, all right? So if I'm saying it's unnecessary, you guys can guarantee that it's unnecessary, right? If we start to see British soldiers coming back in those black bags, I'm going to data drop everything. I promise you guys, I will data drop everything. However, for the normal families in the United Kingdom right now, in Britain, the initial punch and kick to the face is the higher fuel prices, and the very real possibility of British soldiers, for potentially somebody you know, sent into active combat situations on the ground in Ukraine, with the follow up of conscription. We are in catastrophic times. We are in unprecedented times. We are heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale. You guys have heard me say that before, right? Right. Let me jump onto the chat, guys. Let me jump onto the chat. I didn't even have the chat on. Sorry, guys. I've just been waffling without the chat. Right, ban Will Palmer. This is a donation for his ban. He comes to the chat no matter how many times you mute him, he floods the chat with bot messages. Right, where's Will Palmer? Right, I'm on Will Palmer. Oh, right, Will. How do I go with this, guys? Every time I say stop spamming, right, with the biblical stuff, like, I don't want to block people. But Will, I've told you more times, Googleinos. I don't like blocking people, but I think you're right. Right, Will Palmer. Look, he's got another one here. Oh, God, right, Will Palmer. Oh, God. Right. Will Palmer, right? I love the biblical context, right? Will Palmer, right? I do. Honestly, I do. I love the biblical quotes. I do. But when you're just spamming them over and over again, it winds people up. It winds me up. Yeah, Will, you gotta go, mate. Will, I do apologize, mate. I'm sorry. Hang on a minute, right? Will, if you are still on and you can, Will, if you are still on, right now, send an apology and I may just, I don't even know if I can. Right, Will, if you are still on, send an apology, right? And I may consider your apology. But if you don't send an apology in the next 45 seconds, you're getting blocked. And I mean blocked. And I feel bad about blocking. Honestly, Will Palmer, you've made me feel bad. I genuinely, you know, when I finish this live stream and I block people, I feel bad. I go in the house and I'm like, oh, God, I had to block someone. So, like, I don't know. Will Palmer, you've got 22 seconds. 22 seconds to save the world. We only got 22 seconds to save the world. I don't think Will Palmer's coming back on his. He's got 10 seconds. Will Palmer's got 10 seconds. Will Palmer's got, he's got 6, 7, 8. No, he's got 3, 2, what? He's gone. No, there's no, I've given him an extra 1 second. Will Palmer, fair play, Will. Fair play. He did it. Fair play. He went on his sword. Now he's blocked. Fair play, Will. Fair play. I salute you, Will. I salute you, Will, but you're gone. You're gone. Fair play to him, guys. Fair play to him. He had his chance to redeem himself. He said no. Do you know what? I should have kept it. Can I unblock him? How do I unblock him? I can't unblock people. I can't unblock people. Fair play to Will Palmer. Listen, we listen. Will Palmer will always have a piece in my heart. He will. He'll always have a piece in my heart. Fair play to him. He lived by the sword and he died by the sword. Right, listen, guys. Let me jump onto the recent events that have been happening in the world over the last couple of hours. So the breaking news. Oh, let me refresh this. So the breaking news all over at the moment is this news that the United States are deploying 3,000 troops, as Donald Trump claims Tehran agreed to never have a nuclear weapon. Now, I tried to find this. I tried to find the reports that Iran have said they agree to never have a nuclear weapon. I can't find it, guys. I can find nothing. I can find absolutely nothing from the Iranians that says they have agreed to never have a nuclear weapon. Now, look, let's have a little rewind. Let's have a rewind. Right, let's have a rewind, and let's just remember the first golden rule of warfare. Don't bullshit your blokes, right? First golden rule of warfare. Don't lie to your blokes, right? Don't lie to your men. Don't waffle. So with that in context, if we look back now when Donald Trump said that there's going to be, he's going to strike all, what did he say? The United States will strike all Iran's energy production facilities with whatever it was within 48 hours. And then he went back on that. Yeah. When you start saying things and then don't doing them, people lose credibility with what you're saying. And look, guys, let me throw this out there. I'm Team West. I'm Team America. Absolutely, I'm Team America. America is 100. I think America is the only place that I would feel safe living. Texas, cost of the gun laws, cost like one of those things in my hands and everyone's going to the candy shop. Bad guys, obviously. But when you say things and you don't follow them through, you lose credibility. And I fear that that's what we're seeing right now. I fear that right now we are watching the United States lose credibility in this conflict. Let's bring that down to the micro, not the macro, the micro. If you live in the Raven's house and you're this big, right, and you've got long hair, you know that if you don't do as you're told and you're particularly sassy, you get 5 kilometer walk. That's what you get. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, rain, sleet, snow, midnight, there will be a 5 kilometer walk and it will be horrific. Now, once you've been on a 5 kilometer walk in the middle of the night when it's raining, you don't want to do that again, right? So now, when the girls are being sassy, they're not going to bed, they're playing up. I'm like, right, bedtime or it's 5 kilometer walk. Straight away, straight up the stairs. Oh God, I'm in bed. Oh my God, I'm in bed. Yeah, I'm in bed. Oh my God, I don't want to do 5 kilometer walk. Yeah? Because they know that if I threaten with 5 kilometer walk, that means that 5 kilometer walk is going to happen, right? I don't want to do it, but I know, because it winds me up as well. As much as I don't want to do it, I know I need to do it. And if I say I'm going to do it, then it's going to have to happen, right? As much as I don't want to do it, you have to do it. Now, if I said to the girls, come on, bedtime or it's 5-kilometer walk. They'd be like, shut up, Dad. You've got no authority here. We'll do what we want. Yeah? And then they run over you. You know, they're in charge. No. That doesn't happen in the Raven household. Raven's in charge. So put this now on the macro. When you make first golden rule of warfare, ladies and gentlemen, the first golden rule of warfare, okay? Remember, the first golden rule of warfare. Don't make threats that you can't keep, which is what I feel is happening right now with the United States. I think Donald Trump is looking at the enormity of what's facing him, and he's understanding that boots on the ground needs to be, that's the only way. Oh, hang on a minute. Right, 4 minutes ago, breaking news, guys, 4 minutes ago. Right, breaking news 4 minutes ago. Right, so Trump approves deployment of 1,000 extra soldiers, only 1,000, to the Middle East, reports. We're getting reports. We're getting more reports now of Don. So this is from The Guardian. We're getting more reports. I'm still annoyed that I had to block that guy. He was so pure, wasn't he? He was so pure. He was spamming and spamming him. So I was like, mate, listen, right? Apologize. I'm just going to block you. And he went and did it again. I was like, oh, you have to respect that. You have to respect that. You have to respect that commitment. I should have let him. I should have left him. I feel bad, guys. Honestly, every time I block someone, I feel bad. Anyway, so The Guardian are getting reports now of Donald Trump approving, so it's official now, that more than 1,000 soldiers, so that number's gone down, from the 82nd Airborne Division. Like, guys, so the crux of the title was, when I read this earlier, this is from like 6 minutes ago. We get reports now that Donald Trump's approving the deployment of more than 1,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East. Sky News, NBC News are reporting that Trump approved the deployment last night, and the orders are being written today for the headquarters staff and some ground forces, but not the full brigade. So that does, to me, sound like Carg Island. But I don't, just... Donald Trump, if you are watching this, please do not send the 82nd to Carg Island. They're going to achieve nothing. You can't resupply them. And they're going to be cut off. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please. But then, right, okay. So they're saying that this is not going to be the full brigade, just 1,000 troops. The full brigade consists of 3,000 troops. But this deployment will be fewer than half that, under 15,000 soldiers, 1,500 soldiers, which clears up early reports that thousands of additional troops will be sent. The extra troops have not yet left the United States, but could be sent overseas in the coming days. The 82nd Airborne is an elite infantry division specializing in forcible entry parachute assaults. I know them too well, guys. Forcible entry parachute assaults, where you parachute in to bad guys' territory, you kill and capture everything, set fire to everything else, and then get drunk. I kind of want to be on that jump. So that is the breaking news, guys, from like 10 minutes ago, sorry. It looks like it's official now. Donald Trump approves the deployment of the 82nd Airborne. Not the full deployment of the whole everyone. It looks like they're sending 1,000 soldiers. Now, if 1,000 soldiers sounds like a lot, and it is when you think of 1,000 soldiers, the weapons, the food, the ammunition, the water, the kit and equipment, any vehicles that they're taking with them. That is a lot of equipment. It's a big deployment. It's not enough to make, that's enough, that's more than enough to make a tactical imprint in that region, not a strategic imprint. So tactically short-term, strategic is long-term. So I think what will happen here, if these guys are, look, I hate to say this. So the 82nd Airborne, they are a fantastic unit. They are fantastic soldiers. I'm not worried about the 82nd Airborne. I'm not worried about them at all. They can fight and shoot their way out of any situation. They're more than qualified. The 82nd are more than... So I've got my... Just as a show of hands, who's got their 82nd Airborne wings? I've got 82nd Airborne. Well, I've got US Airborne wings, and we did that with the 82nd Airborne. So when I got my... when I did my Airborne, US Airborne wings, on the wings parade, the 82nd have to have blood wings, right? They have to have blood wings. As a foreign attachment, you don't have, you get to choose whether you want to have blood wings, right? So what blood wings are is, if you imagine the little badge, the little steel badge, there's two pins on the inside, right? What blood wings are is, you put you push it into your, or is it that side? I can't remember which side it's on. I want to say it's the left, but it might be the right. I should definitely know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Whichever side it is, you push them into your smock or your whatever you're wearing, your shirt, and then the drill instructor comes with a helmet. He puts the helmet on your chest, and he punches them into your chest. And this guy, this American guy, was coming down. And he's going, "You want your blood wings, son?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. No, I'm good." Anyway, so I was saying to my mate, Gowie, he's dead now. I said, "Are you having yours?" He said, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm having my blood wings." You know, they were getting to the, you know. So like, yeah. I said, "Yeah, I'll have mine as well." So I remember him getting to my friend Gowie, and he said, "You know, all the parachute regiment guys were definitely having their blood wings. We had some like artillery guy, whatever, just some like jumpers on." And so he's coming down. All the parachute regiment guys were like, "Yep, definitely having my blood wings." And he got to my friend Mark Gowie, and he put the badge. He said, "Do you want your blood wings?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm having my blood wings." He said, "Well done, son." Do you take your own helmet off? I can't remember if you take your own helmet off and hand it to the drill instructor and then he punches it in. I can't. But it was this big, like, Americans are big dudes. You know, he was this big guy. He was like black, like Sanchez or something. You know. I remember putting his helmet on, and he whacked my mate Gowie, and he fell back, Gowie, and he stumbled back. So Gowie's only little. And, my mate Gowie, he said, he goes, "They're going? Did they go in, son?" He said, "Honestly, I swear to God, this happened." He said, "No, I think you missed." So then, like, the drill instructor looks at my mate, he's like, "I like you." And then he repositioned them and he whacked him again. He goes, "Did that get in?" He went, "Yeah, they're definitely in." And then he hit me and mine went in. Anyway, so yeah, I've got absolutely zero... I've got no worries about the 82nd Airborne Division. What I'm worried about is their logistics supply. I'm worried about if they get dropped into Karg Island and they're there any more than 3 days, because they just won't have the kit and equipment, the food, water. In fact, I think they actually have fresh water in Karg Island. But they won't have the ability to sustain themselves for that long. So that means so this is what we could see right now. And look, guys, this is just me going full scale, like not Lord of the Rings, but like maybe Band of Brothers. if you jump in the guys 82nd Airborne to Carg Island, I think that would be like, it makes strategically no sense. No sense. You're not going to get anything out of that. If you jump in, or helicopter HLF, helicopter landing force, TALO, tactical air landing operation, TALO, if you do any of those operations, because there's a big runway on Carg Island, you can land a plane. If you do any of those, and those boys are left there, isolated, that is going to give the thumbs up to the rest of the Navy, the Marines, every man and his dog, to then go and, have a full-scale assault. So we've got to understand the deeper context here. First of all, I am never, ever, 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 ever going to say that I'm not in support of US military. I'm never going to say that. Never in a million years will you ever find me saying that. Not a chance. Not a chance, diddly dance. All right? I've got friends, it's just not going to happen. It will never happen. Regardless of what happens to me, I will never say I'm not in support of the US military, or the British military for that matter. But what I think could be happening here is 4D chess. All right? There is no strategic importance of Carg Island. None. Zero. There's nothing there, right? Oil, gas, yes, but without the Strait of Hormuz opened, it makes no sense to take the Carg Island. Makes no sense. However, what does make sense, if you're thinking about 4D chess and you want to open the Strait of Hormuz with a massive military force, you send in the 82nd as the bait. The 82nd then becomes stranded on Carg Island, and they need a rescue operation. So now we have 1,000 soldiers, US soldiers on Carg Island, who are just there to try and get you guys cheap gas. They now need a full-scale rescue operation, which would require like a full-scale US naval invasion, full-scale, that would be a big rescue operation, and that would lead the front row to full-scale boots on the ground, full naval blockades of that region, and that's how you may get that may be the next step. Right, I'm jumping down, guys. Let me jump down. Right, I'm back on the chat. I just realized I just waffled then for about 15 minutes on Carg Island. Strikeout is saying, Lowe is the GOAT. I think you mean, are you talking about Rupert Lowe? Boggy is saying 4D chess, the United States. Boggy, right, with all due respect, Boggy, I might take you a little bit more serious if you changed your profile picture. Do you like soy milk? I think Boggy's ran out of soy milk. I think that's his problem. Boggy's ran out of soy milk. Right, let me jump up. Rod Panhard is saying... I don't see how Trump does not get destroyed at the midterms. Surely he loses both the House and the Senate, and it's lame duck and non-stop impeachment for him. Okay, so let's assume that the 82nd parachute jump into Carg Island. They are bogged in. And Donald Trump comes out with some massive war statement and says, we will not leave any American soldiers behind. I will never leave one American soldier behind. We are going to unleash the full force of the United States Navy, Air Force, and Army to rescue those soldiers. We're coming for you guys. We hold tight. The cavalry's coming. You can see very quickly how public opinion would change. Jay is saying, Jay with a like. Wait, hang on. Let me get. Look at Jay's Jay with a fantastic profile picture, and then look at Boggy's profile picture. Where's Boggy's? Like, look at Boggy's profile picture, right? And then look at Jay's profile picture. I know who I want to go drinking with. Honestly, I do. I know who I want to go drinking with. So Paul J is saying our soldiers don't deserve to be on the front. Oh God, I absolutely agree with you, mate. Honest, Paul J, you are so much superior. Our soldiers don't deserve to be on the streets while these. I'm not going to really repeat those words because I'll get banned. Rinse us dry. Wake up. It's about ink. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, mate. I 100% agree with you, Jay. It's absolutely disgusting that people, right? It's. Do you know what, Paul? I don't even think disgusting's the word. I don't even think there's a word for what this is. I don't. It's like. There isn't a word to describe what I'm about to describe. And I'm going to try and use it with multiple words. So there are no words on the tongues of elves or men to describe that we have veterans sleeping rough on the streets with no home, no money, no meals. Those veterans, regardless where they are now, if you've served in the military, I can guarantee you at some point you have considered that you may have to give the ultimate candy shop for your job. I promise you, and you accept that because you've joined the military. So we have a situation now where we have people sleeping on the streets who have at some point in their life agreed and accepted that they may have to go to the candy shop because of the love of, to protect their country. They're sleeping on the streets. Yet people who actually hate this country are given hotels, 3 meals a day, free stuff, free money, and then if they don't like it here that much, they're given 40 grand to leave. Yeah, that doesn't pitch well to me either, Paul J. Doesn't pitch well to me either, buddy. Right, I'm just going to jump to the bottom, so I do apologise if I'm missing anyone's comments. I don't mean that. I don't mean to miss anybody's comments. So many comments, guys. I'm jumping to the bottom. Right, Googlinos, first comment. Nuclear safety warning after another projectile hits the site of an... Do you know what, actually? I've just seen this come up here. Give me a second. Is it that one? Not that one. Yeah, so I literally just saw, so before I jumped over then, I literally just saw this. So the International Atomic Energy Agency has said it has been informed by Iran that projectile struck the premises of the Bushehr nuclear power plant. I may be pronouncing that wrong. The international IAEA said in a post on X that according to Iran, so remember, this is according to Iran, fog of war. We don't know what's happening anymore. You know, it could be real, it could be fake, but we just need to consider that at the moment. According to the IAEA, on the post on X, they said that, according to someone else, that the Iranians said that there was damage to the facility. There was no damage, to the facility and no injuries to staff, and that conditions at the plant remain normal. However, what this marks is a stark upscale and an escalation to this nuclear crisis that we're in. If you guys remember a couple of days ago on the live stream, I said to you guys, I said, listen, you're not even a couple of days ago. I've always said from day one get-go, I've always said, I don't think that there is ever going to be a scenario where nuclear weapons are going to actually be used. And then a couple of days ago, what I actually said was, I said, guys, I may have missed something out here. And this is my bad. So while I'm confident still that nobody's going to fire nuclear weapons at each other, a strike on a nuclear reactor could actually be a lot worse. So yes, absolutely right, Googleinos. The Israeli army says plans in Iran, Lebanon, unchanged regardless of talks. Yeah, you know, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Chris FF4DC is saying, why serve in a country that hates us, UK guys? Oh, right, okay, right. Here's where I need to get on my soapbox, right? And listen, Chris, this is nothing against anyone. So, right, let me caveat, before I start this, because I am going to go on a little bit of a soapbox preach. I understand everything that's going on right now. I do. I totally understand everything that's going on right now. When I joined the military in 1999, was it 99? Yeah, 1999, when I was 16, I joined straight out of school into the military, parachute regiment, 1st Battalion. When I left, the doors that opened for me, the education that gave me, the knowledge that gave me, the worldly experience that gave me, the good far outweighed the bad. So in that context, I can never be negative about the UK military. I will never be negative about it, guys. I will never be negative about it. You know, I will always say there's a tick in the box for me because it's done so much for me and my life. And I get it. It's not for everyone. It really isn't for everyone. It's not. I was talking to my friend the other day saying, he was saying, Sean, why do you keep running when you're about to pass out? I say, well, it's funny you mentioned that because most of my adult life when I was running, if I looked like I was going to pass out or if we were running real hard and I was, you know, and if somebody was slacking, they would get punched in the head. Yeah, that's what happens, guys. You know, if you're like an airborne forces unit and you're doing fitness and you're slacking, you're hanging behind, you will get punched and beaten. That's the reality. You know, that is just the reality of it. So when people say to me, Sean, how do you push yourself so hard? And I'm like, I'm really not pushing myself hard. I'm just doing normal stuff. So, and in that context, you know, I can never be negative about the military. I can't. I just can't be negative about UK military. So I do understand, however, having left the military and being a civilian contractor for a lot of years, I totally understand how people feel. I really do, guys. Listen, I grew up in Rotherham in the 90s. I totally understand what's going on. I understand that most people who are in government are not fit to be in government. I understand all these problems, but I can't be negative, guys. I can't be negative to something that's given me so much. Right, I'm jumping to the bottom. Guys. Jumping to the bottom. Chris is saying, okay, let's rephrase it. If you was leaving school now, Sean, would you still be joining up? Yes! Yes! Yes, I would, because there's nothing else. There would be nothing else for me. There would be nothing else for me. I absolutely would. And again, I totally get that. I totally get it, guys. You know, if you're leaving school right now, you've got the Islamification of Britain. You've got the African. Listen, we all moan about the Islamification of Britain. What about the Africanization of Britain? What about the Ugandanization of Britain? What about the Nigerianization of Britain? You know, I understand all these things, but if you're asking me a straight question, Would I still join the military now? Yes. Like, what else am I going to do? Like, literally, what would I do? So but listen, guys, I totally understand. I totally understand how people are hesitant in what, in what I'm saying. And I will, look, if you don't, your own opinions are your own opinions. I will never say anything bad about that organization. I think that's something else. Googling us is saying, according to Israel's Channel 12 report today, the Trump admin conveyed these 15 proposed conditions. We got 15 conditions. Right, where are these 15 conditions? Right, okay, when we're talking about Channel 12, so I don't know if she's on here. I've not seen a message from her, but Silly Gallardi, she's usually on the, I don't know if she's on. She's usually on the chat, and she's in Israel, and she gave us some inside information from Channel 12. I think it was on the 28th, actually, saying that the Ayatollah is dead. Now, I didn't want to repeat that and say the Ayatollah is dead without it being confirmed by multiple sources. But it turns out Channel 12 were the ones that reported that first. So look, guys, I don't know what the Israeli channels are. I don't know what they are. But what I do know is that Channel 12 seems to be the credible one, right? I'm assuming Googling us has put them on somewhere. All right, okay. Right, I'm just going to run through these real quick, guys, okay? I'm literally just going to power through these. So 2, never pursue nuclear weapons. Okay, straight away, I think it's fake news, but whatever. 0 uranium enrichment on Iranian soil. Well, maybe. Transfer, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. 6, full International Atomic Energy Authority access oversight. Yeah, all these things, I don't think they're going to happen. Abandon proxy stop fund. No, that's not going to happen. Keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Maybe. Limit missile range quantity to self-defense only. What is self-defense? Yeah, she is on. 2, full sanction relief. 13, U.S. support for civilian nuclear. I don't know what that means. The nuclear facilities. Remove snapback sanctions and indefinite duration, no sunset clause. Yeah, I don't think they're going to happen. There's so many on them that seem so unrealistic. Toffyman is saying, evening, Sean. Good evening to you, Toffyman, good sir. Do you think the UK could be hit with dirty bombs by the sleeper cells? No, I do not. I don't think that's a possibility at all. To get that fissionable material into the United Kingdom, it's more or less impossible. I think the only places that could actually be hit by a dirty bomb would be mainland Europe. I don't think. Well, obviously, there's other places in the Middle East. Obviously, there's Israel could be hit with a dirty bomb. Anywhere in missile range of anywhere within missile range of Iran could be hit by a dirty bomb. Technically, do I think the UK could be hit by a dirty bomb? Not a chance. I think you've got more chance. I think you've got an equal chance of winning the lottery than the UK being hit by a dirty bomb. Why would you want to hit the UK with a dirty bomb? It makes no, look, guys, I might be wrong. Somebody's got to win the lottery, right? But there's no strategic value in that. The strategic value in attacking the United Kingdom is by using sleeper cells. By using sleeper cells that are using recruiting criminal gangs, you've got deniability. So You can close down an airport. You can close down a train station. You can close down an embassy. And it just gets put down to criminal gangs. Criminal gangs. Oh, those criminal gangs doing criminal stuff. Right, I'm literally just jumping to the... Oh, right. Buggy, do I have to block you as well? I'm on a blocking spree. Should I block Buggy? I don't know. I'm not going to block Buggy. He's not offensive. He's harmless. Buggy's harmless. We love Buggy. We love Buggy and his fantastic face. Hang on, let me get it. Let me get it. Where is he? Where's Buggy? I just had a message off Buggy. There he is. Did someone say soy milk? We love you, Buggy. We love you. Right, I'm literally just jumping to the bottom. Right down. Right, I'm clicking this button and that's going to jump me to the bottom. Thank you, Raven. Don't worry, Buggy. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start to close this live stream down. The crux of this video, I think what everybody needs to understand is 3,000 US troops to deploy. Now, while we were on the live stream, I got it actually updated that it's not 3,000 troops. It's going to be 1,000 troops. So I'm still going to leave that. I'm not going to change that title because it was true at the time of writing it. Now, the crux of that being brought down to 1,000, that really only means something like an island assault. And if you think about, if you think about an island assault, if you think about Karg Island, and I hope, honestly, by the beard of Zeus and Odin's eye, I hope they're not planning an attack on. I really do, guys. In fact, hang on, I've got the map on here. Let me share this with you. So I really do hope that they're not planning an attack on Karg Island, because look at the distance here. So Karg Island is there. Can you guys see that where I've just put the dot? Hang on. Can you guys see that where I've just put the dot? Yeah, so that's where I've just put the dot, right? Karg Island. That's Karg Island, right? Or Kargigi Island. It's around that area. And then the Strait of Hormuz, as you guys know, is here. Right? So look at the distance that like any reinforcements would have to travel. It's a little bit daunting. So yes, you can airlift, and I've always said this from day one. I've said the ace in the hole about RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, which is there, is the ability to land, house, put in barracks, administer soldiers, right? So you can quite easily land 1,000, 1,500 soldiers and put them in barracks in RAF Akrotiri. 100%. That is like I would say you could probably do 3,000, maybe even 5,000 at push. You can put a lot of troops in that area. Look at the whole area around here, guys. Okay, you don't have to put them in buildings. You can put them in the, you can put them in the woods. You can put them. They're soldiers. They're 82nd Airborne. They're resilient, right? Now then, you can you can fly them straight over to Karg Island, which is what's that? What do we think that is? I would say that's 1,000. I would say that is about. I'd say that's about 1,000 kilometers. Yeah, I'd say it's about 1,000, maybe a bit more. I would say that's about 600 mile, maybe. I don't know. No, it's more than 600. Whatever that distance is, call it 1,000 mile, whatever. It doesn't matter. From Cyprus to Karg Island, you then drop them in Karg Island. Now, that's where it becomes interesting, right? Because once you've got those guys on Karg Island, and I don't think it will be a parachute drop. I think the C-130s would just land here on this runway. Literally, that runway there, guys. What is it? Maybe 1,500 meters. Cork Island, they would just land on that runway. Makes no sense parachuting guys in, although you could parachute them in. Look at this. Look at this in the middle, guys. There. That is a perfect drop zone. Hey, listen, it's almost there. Darude 2. Dorod 2. That's going to be the mission name, guys. Dorod 2. That area there, those sand dunes, is a perfect drop zone. You drop the 82nd. They do their 82nd thing, which I've got absolutely zero questions about because they're airborne forces and they will do above and beyond what's expected. They will take Cork Island, no problem. But my hesitations and my worries are, why? Why would you bother taking Cork Island? Or Cork Island, as it's called on here. Why would you bother taking it? There, nothing, right? Look at the proximity to maybe like 30 kilometers from the for context, that distance is that's about the distance in the English Channel, right? So then you have to look at what the real task for the 82nd Airborne would be, and I would say the real task, the strategic task, would be Crescem Island and these islands down here. These would be the real islands. Only the United States military planners know. They're a lot more, they're a lot better informed than I am. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, and with that bombshell, I am going to close this down tonight. I'll be back on tomorrow morning. Oh, hang on a minute. Sean, check World War III monitor posts. Right. I will. Hopefully this will come up now because I've done it before. WW3. There we are. World War III monitor. Got him. I don't know. There's quite. I'll share this. I don't know which ones we're going from here. I don't know which ones we're going on. Iraq's National Security Council has authorized Iran-backed popular mobilization forces to respond to attacks against their positions. I think it's this one, actually. Israeli Channel 12 on a US document. Under the agreement with Iran, all sanctions will be lifted. I really struggle to see how this is a thing, guys. I really do. I really struggle to see how this war gets closed down anytime soon. I really don't. The amount of money, time, resources that are being spent, it's phenomenal. And I just don't see it closing down any less than like 3 years. Anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Let's just keep that under our hats. Let's all understand that if you live in the United Kingdom, things are going to get continually worse. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I'll bid you good evening. And I'll see you in the morning at 10 o'clock. Don't be late. And if you're on and you've not done so already, please hit those buttons down below. They're like round here or something or whatever. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the morning, 10 o'clock, and I bid you good evening.